Live. I am Bill Von Fumetti, and every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, I go live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, giving you everything you need to start and grow a six-figure bookkeeping business. So again, I'm live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So depending on where you're watching this, you're going to want to make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, connect with me on LinkedIn, and join my Facebook group because we've got lots of great content, information, advice, and discussion about how to grow your bookkeeping business on those. So definitely check those out. If you're on Facebook, give a click to the link in the description that will give my streaming software permission to see your name, so that when you type in questions, I can see who I'm talking to. So feel free to do that. Now, today I am going to be talking about how to get free practice to learn bookkeeping. Okay. If you're anything like me, when I got started, I was like, okay, what is bookkeeping? I don't even know what it is. I knew it had to do something with QuickBooks, but I didn't know much more beyond that. And I thought, well, okay, I could learn this, but then how am I actually going to be feel confident in doing this for clients? Because eventually I wanted to obviously be an entrepreneur, have control over my income and schedule and all of those different types of things. So I'm wondering to myself, like, how am I going to feel confident? I can learn it. Bookkeeping is a skill like anything else that you've ever learned in your life. It's a skill. It can be learned relatively quickly. We find it takes people about 6 to 8 weeks to learn how to do bookkeeping and to use QuickBooks. But okay, then you're released out into the wild, and then expected to, like, how I'm going to do a good job. Do I feel confident? And if you've seen any of my other videos on my YouTube channel, you know that I talk about why you don't need any experience to be a great bookkeeper. It's just something that you need to learn. You're always going to encounter things out there in the wild working with clients that you've never seen before. So it's important to just have resources to lean on. I've been doing this for a long time, and every new client still has things about their books that are new to me and I've got to go figure out. So as long as you have a great place to reach out to and a mentor to lean on, then you're able to figure out anything and you'll never be stuck. But it can be helpful. Okay, you don't need experience. You don't need to work for free. You don't need to have experience to do this, but it can be helpful to have a little bit of confidence that we're doing a good job. Okay, so the training is a great way to do that. And as you know, inside of your free QuickBooks Online accountant account, and if you've been following me for any length of time, you should have your free QuickBooks Online accountant account. I have details on how to get that in my free training. Go over to boomingbookkeeping.com to check that out. But inside of that free QuickBooks account, you have some free training in there. Okay, that will show you, how to get your feet wet and how to get started. So definitely head over there and check out that free training, boomingbookkeeping.com. But today I'm going to talk about one of the best tools. And this is the tool that we use in my mentorship program to help people get hands-on practice learning bookkeeping. Okay, where you're actually there and you're doing it, you're in QuickBooks. Okay, so you got your free QuickBooks account, but you don't want to do a whole lot of practicing in there. Okay, that free QuickBooks account is for you to do the bookkeeping for your bookkeeping business. Okay, so you don't want to muddle that up with a bunch of test data, but there's a really great option that we have to practice, and I'm going to show you that today. Now, I'm going to be live for a little while, maybe half hour or so, but I will stay on to answer questions. So as we move through things today, as we do every week, you're welcome to type questions into the chat, type questions into the comments, and I will answer those as we go. And if you're watching this after the live stream ends, do the same thing. Okay, do the same thing because I will get notified of those. I'll come back and I'll answer those questions. So feel free to even just drop a note in the chat to say hi. So, all right, let's talk about this really great tool that we can use to get free practice to learn bookkeeping. All right, so let's jump straight into it. Let me share my screen first of all. It's the first step here. All right, here we go. Cool. There I am in the corner. Awesome. So I did a quick Google search, and this is all you need to do to find this free tool. QuickBooks Online Test Drive. Okay, that's it. Type in QuickBooks Online Test Drive. You can also type in QuickBooks Online Sample Company. The first link that comes up is the one you are going to want. So click on that guy there. And then, as you can see here, it talks, about what this is. And what this is like, hey, are you a business owner, or in our case, somebody who just wants to learn about QuickBooks, interested in exploring all that QuickBooks has to offer? Do you want to dive deeper into the features? Well, guess what? We offer this great thing called the sample company. Okay, it is an almost fully featured version of QuickBooks. Okay, so this is what you'll be working with your clients. It's when I say almost full featured, it just like there's certain features that don't work in it. Obviously, payroll. Okay, we're not running payroll through this sample company, things like that. But other than those types of things, this is a full featured working copy of QuickBooks that actually has some test data in it. Okay, so it's loaded with test data already, so we can take it for a test drive. Okay, sample company test drive, whatever you want to call it. We can take it for a test drive, and we can work with it, and we can just play around. It's like our sandbox. So click this link here. There's two links, one for just kind of the regular version, and then there's a version of QuickBooks Online called QuickBooks Online Advanced. It's for larger organizations, larger companies. So you really just want to click this one right here, and it will take you to good old Craig's Design and Landscape, which is the name of this sample company business. Well, that's not where it took me. So let me open this in a incognito window. Since I'm logged into QuickBooks already, it took me to my account. So let's log in. I need to prove that I'm not a robot. So let's see how well I do. Whoops. Hey, I fooled him. All right, let's see. Okay, so as you can see, it's the sample company, and it's actually called Craig's Design and Landscaping Services. This is just the name of a sample company. Okay, it's a company that clearly do design and landscaping services. But as you can see, this is a full QuickBooks Online company file, and it's loaded with a bunch of test data. Okay, so it's already got transactions in it, so we can play around with things. The cool thing is that we can play around, we can create all kinds of different things. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Create all kinds of different things, practice and move from one area to the other. We can exit this, and when we come back in, it's all reset back to the where it was before, which is really cool. So you're not, when you log into this, it's kind of like your own little version. You're not seeing somebody else around in here playing around as well. So it's really cool. I don't know how they figured this out, but it's really awesome because we all go to the same website to access it, but like we all get our own kind of like version, which is really cool. So if there was somebody in here at the same time, I'm not seeing the stuff that they create. So this is just stuff that I create. I can play around. I can do whatever I want. So if we just take a look at, for example, if we just head over to reports and we take a look at our profit and loss, you can see that this is loaded with all kinds of transactions. Okay, so they've already got stuff in here, which is really cool, because if it were empty, we can't, we'd have to create things in order to edit things and move things around. And so this gives us stuff that we can actually, that's already there that we can use and edit and move around and reclassify and stuff like that. But then we can also create new stuff. Okay, so all of the things that you learn in the QuickBooks Online Accountant training, that free training inside of your QuickBooks Online Accountant account, you can come here and just try this stuff out. Okay, try this stuff out. In fact, when you're taking the exam, some of this stuff you can just see in the sample company. Okay, they might say, hey, how do you create, what are the steps to create an invoice? And that's not a question. I want to be very clear, but they'll have a couple of options. Click the new button, click on invoice. Like you can actually try this stuff out for yourself. So it's a really great way to learn this. Not just for the certification, but just learning QuickBooks and practicing different things and becoming competent. Okay, becoming competent. So let's just kind of start at the top. Let's start at the top and work our way down. So under the new button, hey, we can practice creating invoices. right? Maybe you've got a client that needs to send invoices out to their customers. We can practice that. This is actually a really great example. And I think I talked about this in the video where I talked about, you don't need experience to do really great bookkeeping work. Okay. You just need to learn this skill. Creating an invoice is one of those things where you just, okay, well, who are you selling things to? Maybe you're selling it to Amy's Bird Sanctuary, or your client is. You've got a date. What product did you sell them? This is Craig's Design and Landscape. So maybe they did some, landscape design work. And maybe this is, they spent, I don't know, 10 hours doing some landscape design. That's $75 an hour, and this is basically an invoice now. And you can click save and send. You can have that sent to Amy's Bird Sanctuary and they can pay it online. This is a really great example of, okay, like people sometimes think, hey, I need a bunch of experience in order to do this. And it's like, well, it's just an invoice. It's creating, the customer, the date, what we've sold, and then hitting send. Like, how much actual experience do we need doing that in the real world? It's pretty straightforward. Now, there are other things about invoices that you can do. Things like, hey, maybe like this billable time. In other words, we've done some design work. One of our employees did. Do we want to add that to this invoice and have the customer pay us for that? Or there's discounts or sales tax, things like that. But as you can see, these are all just things that you can practice and that you can learn and that you can do. And then if you start working with a client who has sales tax, guess what? You know how to do it. Okay. You know how to do it without having done it before. Okay. You can practice. All right. So you can create invoices. Let's leave without saving. You can create, credit memos. You can create all these. You can create a bill. Okay, you can do bank deposits. You can practice journal entries. A lot of people, when they're new to QuickBooks, they're like, ooh, journal entries are a little bit scary. Okay, journal entries are just a way of you kind of manually moving accounts around. Okay, maybe, in fact, this is really interesting that this came up. We got a comment on YouTube that says, "Hey Bill, when the owner makes monthly deposits from her personal money to the checking of the business to help pay for expenses, what is the best way to classify this type of transaction?" With a journal entry. That is so funny that came in. So this is a journal entry is just a way of us, uh, of us handling, manually adjusting accounts. All of the other things that we use here, creating invoices and bills and checks and expenses, those move accounts as well. All of these transactions that we create affect these accounts on the profit and loss and on the balance sheet. And journal entries are just a way of us kind of directly doing that without using any of those forms. So, Marie, I think it is on this type of transaction, you've got two options to do it. You can either, inside of your banking section, you see that money come in. If you're in here and you see money coming in, this $200, maybe it's not from a rental, which is what it says here. Maybe it's from, the owner. Okay, so who's the owner? Amy's Bird Sanctuary. Maybe we're just, Amy Smith. And this could go to an owner's contribution. Owner's contribution. This could be an equity account. This is money coming into the business. Okay, if you don't already have one, you can create one. Okay. So like contribution, owner's contribution, owner's capital. You can call it a couple of different things. Owner's contribution. All right. And that will classify it directly to owner's contribution. You add that, boom, you're done. You can also create a journal entry. Okay. So a journal entry, this transaction that I just created, if I open it back up, it's a deposit transaction, but every transaction we do, no matter if it's invoice, a sales receipt, bill, there's a journal entry behind it. If you click on more and you click on transaction journal, you'll see the journal entry. In other words, which accounts were moved. Okay. So here the checking account was debited for $200 and the owner's contribution was credited for $200. You could just create that as a journal entry. Boom, you're done. Okay. But the bank feeds is probably the easiest way to do that, right? Because then you can just type in the account and you are off and running. So great question. And an example of how you can use QuickBooks to, the sample company, the test drive file, to practice things and see what things look like. This is actually I'm glad it came up because this is one of my favorite features of QuickBooks. Sometimes when we create some of these transactions, there's questions, and it won't let me go backwards. It just keeps going to the same spot. But there are questions about, okay, when I create something, what's actually happening behind the scenes? Okay, when I create an expense or when I create a bill, what's happening behind the scenes? And hey, the test drive file is a really great way to see that. If I look at a credit card expense, squeaky clean car wash, I'll look at the expense. Okay, this was paid with the MasterCard, and this is probably a car wash, $20 car wash. Well, what's actually happening behind the scenes? I like this transaction journal because I can see what accounts are being moved. Okay. Click on that guy. You see that the credit card account is being credited for $19.99. That liability account is going up. That credit card liability is going up. And then the automobile, this is an expense account, automobile expenses, that's going up by $19.99 as well. Okay, so I'm able to see what's happening here. This is on the balance sheet. This is on the profit and loss. So I can really start to get comfortable with this stuff. And guess what? I don't have to worry about screwing up a client's books. Okay, you can click into this expense, and guess what you can do? You can click more, and you can click delete, and you can click yes, and guess what? It's gone. And you don't have to go, what did I do? What did I just do? You absolutely are not, you're not affecting anything. This is all test data that's going to, repopulate once you open this file again anyway. So it's just so invaluable for you to get comfortable and start, familiarizing yourself, with QuickBooks here. So, when you go to the banking section, working in the bank feeds, that's really, something that we do very frequently, connecting, the checking account, the savings account, credit card accounts, all the different accounts that a client has. And that way, all these transactions come in automatically, and we can just go ahead and categorize them. And actually, that'll make up the bulk of what we do in QuickBooks. Okay, working in the bank feeds, classifying transactions. And QuickBooks makes it easy. Okay, sometimes it will, you can set up rules, which are, these aren't rules here, but these are, transactions that it also sees in QuickBooks already, so you don't duplicate things. So it really helps you check your work. But you can create these rules up here, which are really cool. Let's create a rule for like a rental. Okay, a rental. Let's practice creating rules. All right, so we can create a rule and say everything. Let's just call it a rental. So anytime money is going out from the checking account and the description, that little line at the bottom contains a rental, you want to assign it to, where we're going to assign it to. Equipment rental. I think there's an equipment rental thing here. Equipment rental. Two of them. There's one's under job expenses, one's under regular expenses. We'll just choose that. You can tell it, hey, assign it to a particular payee. Let's just do A1 rental or whatever it's called. If it's not there, you can add it. Look at all this stuff I'm practicing without having to have experience working, for a client, getting comfortable doing this. And then, boom, you can auto add it. This thing right here, you won't even see it in this list here. When it gets brought in from the bank accounts, it will just automatically add it to your books. So you don't even see it. But let's turn that off because maybe we want to review things before they actually get added to the books. Let's click save. So keep in mind, kind of to clarify that when I say add it to the books, these are not things that are in the books just yet. These are things that have been downloaded from the bank, and QuickBooks is saying, hey, should I add these? Do some of them already exist? In which case we might find some matches. Like, how do you want to classify these things? Once you add them or match them, then they get added to the books. But you can see what's happened here with this rule that I created. Now it's automatically checking this, and it's seeing, hey, it says A1 rental. In the bank detail, I've got a rule that says, hey, assign it to this payee and drop it in this category. And now it says rule there, and I can just really quickly add those. Boom, boom. Okay. Or if I'm confident that all of these things are always going to go into that category, I will check I'll toggle that little radio button or that little toggle icon, and I guess I can't edit the rule here, but if I go into these rules here, I could edit this and say, you know what? I don't ever want to see it. Let's just automatically add it when it gets downloaded. So guess what? I'm being super efficient, not having to spend a whole lot of time, classifying transactions. If I click save, and if I go back to banking, they're gone. Those things are gone. So how cool is that? These are things we can practice and we can start feeling more comfortable. I really encourage you, as you're going through like the certification training, play around in here. Play around in here and start like testing some of these things out for yourself, because you can do pretty much anything. Okay. You've got the entire sales menu available to you. You can experiment with cash flow planning. You can work with projects. Like I said, payroll is you're not going to actually run payroll for anybody. So, but there's some payroll features in here that you can try out. You can check out reports. You can get comfortable with running balance sheets and reading balance sheets, and setting different dates. This year to last month. And we can start kind of analyzing some of this data. Okay. We can start analyzing some of this data. So, sales tax and mileage, like looking at the gear menu and all of the different accounts and settings and all of those types of things. This is actually what you'll be seeing when you work with clients. And so this sample company is an incredible tool for us to start getting comfortable. Okay. Bookkeeping and QuickBooks, again, is like anything you've ever learned before. It's a skill. It's a skill that if you're willing to learn it, it's a valuable skill that you can create a really profitable business around. And it's not something that you need to be intimidated by, because there are so many things, and this is one of the biggest things that you can take advantage of that help you become comfortable with the skill that you're learning. You're actually able to do this. Okay. Like if you're a surgeon, if you're training to become a surgeon, you're practicing on, cadavers, and you can't kill a cadaver, right? But you can practice a little bit. It's the same thing here. We're practicing. Okay. We're practicing before we go out and doing the real thing. But as you can see, there's not a whole lot to be scared of. Some people, when they log into QuickBooks, it takes you to this screen here and they're like, oh my goodness, look at all these buttons here and all this stuff here. And boy, when you click here, there seems to be a lot. And when you click here, there's a lot. And the truth is, it's just stuff that you haven't encountered yet. The stuff that you haven't encountered yet. Number one, it's all stuff that once you're exposed to it, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And number two, to be honest with you, for most of your clients, there's a lot of parts of QuickBooks that you'll never even use. Okay. QuickBooks is very powerful, and there's a lot of things that, there are a lot of features that and I have a lot of clients that I just have not used. Okay. So don't look at it like it's this never-ending sea of things that you'll need to learn. It's all pretty finite, and this is just a great tool to practice your skills and sharpen your skills. Okay, so that is the sample company, the test drive file. It's a way for us to get really, really confident in what we're doing. So with that said, I am happy to take a few questions while I'm still live. I'll probably be on for another 10 minutes or so. So type in your questions while I'm live. If you're watching this after the live stream ends, do the same thing. And you know what? I'll get notified and I'll come back and I'll answer those questions. So let's dive into a few questions. Let me turn off that screen sharing real quick, unless I need to turn it back on. Wayne. Hey, Wayne. If a company is already using QuickBooks and they give you accountant access, do you still need to get bank username and password? If they've already connected the bank accounts, then no. Then you're fine in terms of having QuickBooks connected to the bank. If they haven't, you'll either want them to do it, or you'll want them to give you view-only access, create your own login to their bank account. Okay. Regardless, you still really want the bank login information so that you can log in, get information, get statements to do your reconciliations, things like that. Okay. So you still really want to do that. And normally there's they can just create with their bank a separate login for you. Absolutely. Hey, Tala, can we learn on my own? Yes, using that test drive file. Get your free QuickBooks Online accountant account. Go to boomingbookkeeping.com for information on how to get that. And you can get lots of training in there. You can make use of the sample company. you can definitely get started on your own. All right. So Marie, you're asking, they paid for an expense out of her business for the nonprofit she has. What should you do? Marie, you're in our mentorship program, so reach out to us. Okay, the weekly coaching calls. We got a coaching call tomorrow. Facebook, the Facebook group, or the or support email. Shoot us an email. Okay, those are things that we'll want to handle there, as opposed to the YouTube lives here that we try to stay on, like whatever topic I'm discussing. So feel free to reach out through the support options. Okay. Tony, still trying to link with you. I don't recall off the top of my head if I've seen anything from you, but feel free to reach out. The best way to reach me is sending my Booming Bookkeeping Business Facebook page a message. That's the best place to reach me. Wayne, happy to help. You are welcome. All right. If we have any other questions before I sign off, I encourage you to go ahead and throw those into the chat or the comments, and I'll handle those before I jump off. Otherwise, you're able to still send type in comments or questions afterwards, and I'll get notifications and I'll come back and check those out. So one thing I want to point out, and just keep in mind, like, demand for bookkeeping is always very strong. It is always very strong. We've got people in my mentorship program getting clients every day. And right now, we're actually entering the strongest time in terms of demand of the year. As we get to the end of the year, business owners, they don't have their books in order, and so they are looking for bookkeepers to get them in order. There's some things they need to do by the end of the year, so that's a huge deadline. And then we've got the tax deadline, March and April of next year. They've got to get their books done for their taxes, and so demand is super high. So if you haven't started yet, I encourage you to start learning bookkeeping, because the demand is out there. You can do good work. You don't need experience. You don't need a degree. All of those things. And if you have started your bookkeeping business, double down on your marketing. Okay, get that stuff polished up and get that out there, because the demand is super strong. Marie, best way to get clients, we cover that in the program. Okay, so you got to reach out to us at support. Okay, and we will, walk you through. It's in the training. Okay, you got to walk through the training, and then as you implement things, you want to reach out to us, and we'll review what you're doing and make sure that what you're doing is perfect, so that you're getting clients. We have people, as you know, in the Facebook group getting clients every single day. People hitting those, the 100K club every month. So we've got the demand is out there, and the clients are out there. So it's all about knowing the marketing strategies that are most effective, and then what to say in your marketing messaging. And we'll help you with both of those two things. So just be sure to reach out to us. And you're saying the CPAs already have bookkeeping services. Networking and partnering with CPAs is a great way of getting clients, whether or not they already offer it. A lot of CPAs who offer bookkeeping services, they've got more work than what they can handle, and so that there's overflow. Okay, so that's a huge opportunity. But some CPAs, they say they offer it, like it might be on their website, and they say they offer it, but they really don't. They just want to make it appear that they've got a full service firm. And then when somebody needs bookkeeping, they'll refer that out. So don't let that stop you from making introductions, introducing yourself, talking about sort of, what's in it for them, how you can benefit their business. That's how you do those things. So, and then many CPAs don't do any bookkeeping at all. I mean, for the most part, most CPAs don't do bookkeeping. They've got either somebody that handles it in-house, but again, they have overflow, or they refer it out, and they're always looking for referral relationships. We got one person in the program that's doing a couple $100,000 a month. No, a couple $100,000 a year. And all she does is network with CPAs. All she does is talk to CPAs. So, again, if it works for one person, it works. So it's just a matter of going and implementing that. Hey, Ryan, over on Facebook, in regards to cleanups, are there price variations based on, say, the current quarter in relation to the beginning of the fiscal year? Example, a cleanup at the end of the year costing more than, say, at the beginning of the year. Yeah, definitely. The way I like to price cleanups are I like to determine a monthly fee. Okay, a monthly fee, what it would look like on an ongoing basis, and then um, I kind of multiply that by the number of months that need to be cleaned up, and then from there I may or may not give a discount based on a variety of factors. Whether when you look at the books, like how cumbersome might this cleanup be. Hey, maybe this is going to be pretty easy in terms of like there's a lot of data that we can work with in bulk, so there's not a lot of like one by one transactional work, those types of things. But yeah, at the end, at the end of the year, if they need more months cleaned up, that's more work. So that's generally how we like to price those things, and that's a really good question. Hey, Jason, don't want to miss your question here. Any tips for your personal LinkedIn page if you come from a different background? Yes, and you'll want to check out. I believe you're in the program, so check out the LinkedIn video, and I talk about that extensively. What you want on your LinkedIn profile, if like your prior experience isn't bookkeeping related, just in terms of to give you an answer and kind of a broad overview, you'll want to remove anything that isn't bookkeeping related. It's better to keep it focused on what you're, on your bookkeeping business, and have less than it is to have a bunch of stuff that isn't related. So, but if you're working in, a financial services sector, or, you've got something that's related, that you certainly can keep on there. But check out the training for details on that, and we'll show you exactly how to do it. And then once your LinkedIn profile is done, guess what? Send it over to support for help. We'll make sure it's perfect. Okay. Because that's the benefit of a mentorship program. Like, you've got to lean on us. You've got to use us. It's not just like, here's the training, go do it. It's like, okay, implement it and follow the training as best as possible. Please, I beg of you, because this stuff, as we know, works. People wouldn't be getting clients and getting the 100K club and all that fun stuff if it didn't. But then once you follow the training, shoot it over to us and make, that's your check. And then we're like, oh, you know what we could do? We could really, supercharge this by changing this one thing. Okay. So, feel free to shoot it over. Like, people in the program, it's like your marketing messaging has got to be on point, and we work with you to make sure that stuff is great. All right. I think I am all caught up. So I am going to sign off for the week. Now, if you've got any questions, comments, whatever the case may be after this live stream ends, drop them into the chat in the comments, and I'll come back and I'll answer those for you. If you want to reach out to me, best way to do so is send my Booming Bookkeeping Business Facebook page a message, and we'll get back to you there. And otherwise, we're going to see you next week. As you know, every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, I go live, giving you everything you need to start and grow a 6-figure bookkeeping business. So until next week, have a great one, and we will talk to you soon.